Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you guys for joining. Please come on in the room. Make sure you guys like, share, and comment on this post. Today, we're going to be talking about resume writing. We've got two facilitators who are going to give you guys some great information, some great tips on how to create the perfect resume to land the interview for the job that you want. Before we get there, we of course have some announcements and want to make sure that you guys are updated on what's going on with MOED and how we're currently operating. Before we get there, though, I want to make sure to shout out Baltimore Restaurant Week. I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to go and visit any of the restaurants that were highlighted, but they had some amazing items on the menu. This is a really great time for our city. We've got Restaurant Week that just finished up this past weekend, and we also have CIAA that's coming at the end of the month. So it's a really exciting time. If you're interested in figuring out what events are happening for CIAA, what volunteer opportunities are available, make sure that you see the make sure that you see the link that's below. It wouldn't be Tuesday if it weren't some technical difficulties happening. But make sure you guys go to the link below, baltimore.org/CIAA. For more details on events and volunteer opportunities. Please, if you're interested, make sure that you head there as soon as possible. We're excited to welcome this wonderful event, this historic event to our city. It's been down south in Charlotte for a number of years, and so we're excited to welcome it up north a little bit. And hopefully we can create a new home for this event. So hopefully you guys are excited about CIAA, and I know that we had some folks from the organization, from some of the organizers on last week to talk about their opportunities. And so if you're interested in that, make sure you go to our video section and you can see some of the information that was given there and how to actually be a part of what's going on. So with no further ado, we want to make sure that we hop into the information for today. And that is talking about resume writing. This is an important piece. This is an important skill to have. Everybody nowadays has to have a resume in order to apply for a job. Paper applications aren't really there anymore. You need to have a resume, and a functional resume, a resume that looks good, that puts your best foot forward. So we're about to bring on two facilitators who I'm privileged to work with each and every day. They work right here in our Northwest Career Center located in Mondawmin Mall. That is Miss Sierra Lewis and Mr. Jairus Harris. How's it going, Sierra and Jairus?
It's going well. I'm excited to talk about resumes.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining. They, again, are two career development facilitators located right here in the Northwest Career Center. You guys may have seen their pictures on our social media platforms. They've been tearing it up on those platforms. So we're excited to have them. Both of them are fairly new to the agency, I guess you could say. I guess maybe both are under 6 months. Is that right?
No, not me. I'm in month 7.
Month 7, you're right on the other side.
Yep, I thought
So we're excited to have both of them with us and share all of their expertise on this amazing piece. So with no further ado, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you guys.
Hi, everyone. I hope that everyone is having a great Tuesday. As Antonio mentioned, we are going to be talking about building the perfect resume. So I'm actually going to let Jairus start off our presentation. So enjoy.
As of right now, with MOED COVID-19 updates, all centers are currently open. Services are being offered remotely as well. Jobs are still being posted on the Maryland Workforce Exchange every day. We usually try to keep those updated as much as possible. And you can check the Now Hiring job board where you see the link below.
I'm going next slide. All right, so why do I need a good resume? So Antonio, he kind of stepped on my what I was going to say in the beginning, but what's it important to remember is when it comes to your resume, it's your first impression with the employer. So the employer, they're going to see your resume first before they even see your face. So that's why it's important to have a great resume. Your resume is going to sell your strongest skills. It's going to sell your strengths and your accomplishments. That's why it's very, very important that you put together a great resume, that it looks good. And as the presentation goes on, we're actually going to give you tips on how to build the perfect resume. A great resume, it also shows that you're a great match for the position or the project that you are applying for. And most importantly, the reason why you have a resume is so that you can apply for jobs, so you can get an interview. So that is why it's important to have a great resume. Next slide.
Where can I create a resume? Maryland Workforce Exchange website. It's really easy to do. It's like 1, 2, 3 step process. Completing the registration process. If you already have an account in the NWE, some of your information may already be in the system. If not, it's easy as far as like creating a resume. We do have a multi-step resume builder function. The final version can be saved in various formats. More than one resume can be created. Also, if you already have a previous resume, sometimes you can print off one and then just use your information and just transfer it. Next slide.
And then the good thing about creating a resume is that there's tons of tools and resources on how to create resumes. So this is actually another resource that you can use, and it's Indeed.com. I know a lot of people use Indeed.com for job searching, but Indeed actually has a tool. They actually have a resume builder tool. So they have various templates that you can use. What you would do, you put in your information, the job in which that you currently work and have presently worked, the job duties and responsibilities. Another good thing about using the resume builder on Indeed is that you can update your information as you go. And once you've completed your resume, the final version can be downloaded to whatever device that you're using. It can be sent out. The resume that is created on Indeed, it does not only have to be used on Indeed. So that's very, very important to note that the Indeed resume can be downloaded and can be sent on various platforms. Next slide.
Just like the previous slide, Genius is also a great area that you can use as far as trying to use various templates. I have used Genius before, and I also have used Indeed. I think they're both great platforms. Genius has various templates provided for the individual's choice. They also have step-by-step questions to complete the resume. The final version can be downloaded. Next slide.
So the perfect resume. Does the perfect resume really exist? The good thing about a resume, well, here's 5 tips on how to get you that perfect resume. First and foremost, you need to make sure that your name is legible and easy to see. Your name is also going to be is also going to have the biggest font on your resume. So you don't want to choose something that's going to be, you can't see it or you have to squint when you're reading your name. You want to make sure it's easy to see. Also, making sure that you have a professional email address. A professional email address is usually your first name dot last name and then maybe a short number at the end at domain.com. You want to stay away from nicknames and things like that. Just keep it very, very professional. First name dot last name and then a number at the end. Also, a list of key skills that satisfy the ATS, which is the applicant tracking system. We're actually going to go over the applicant tracking system as the presentation goes on. You also want to make sure that your most recent work history is listed at the top, and then making sure that the bullets per job is consistent. So you don't want to have 7 bullets under one job and then 3 bullets under another job. You want to make sure that it stays consistent. Next slide.
The perfect resume doesn't exist. Job history includes accomplishments. Also, with your accomplishments, you want to make sure, like, on the bullet points that you're showing, shows contribution for each job that you have had. Be careful about dates. You don't want the jobs to feel like you're deceiving them. Include relevant awards, skills, and interests. Keep it to 1 to 2 pages. Some industries will require 2 pages, but for the most part, just keep it to 1 to 2 pages. Next slide.
So who sees your resume? The applicant tracking software. So more and more companies, they are using this software basically to weed out the applicants that they want versus the applicants that they don't want. And this software, what it does is it scans your resume and it looks for certain things. It looks for certain words, certain buzzwords. It looks at your formatting, and it will tell the employer, basically tells the employer whether or not they want to give you that next step, which is interview. This software is likely to reject resumes for the following reasons. So if the candidate fails to use the employer's chosen keywords. So this is important because what happens is let me just say this. What you can do is the job that you're applying for, read off those job duties and responsibilities. Look at the words that they're using. Those certain words that you're using, and then what you can do is put those words into your resume. Obviously, if it matches and if it's a fit, but you want to make sure that you're using the same language, the same jargon that the employer is using. Also, the system doesn't recognize unusual fonts or formatting. So if you remember, I said, when it comes to your name and just your resume in general, you want to make sure that it's legible. You don't want to use any crazy fonts or any crazy colors. Otherwise, the applicant tracking software is going to weed you out. Also, if the candidates lack preferred experience. So if an employer is asking for 5 years of, experience in a certain field, if your resume doesn't show that ATS is going to weed you out. So you want to make sure that, when you're formatting your resume, everything looks good and you're meeting at least the minimum requirements of the job posting.
Who sees your resume? Applicant tracking software. Use thoughtful, relevant keywords from the job description. Just like before, using buzzwords is always the easy way to get your resume noticed. Modify your resume with keywords from different job openings. Like below, we have the onetonline.org. Use a document format compatible with ATS systems. Chronological resumes with no tables works best. Avoid graphics. With this I'm gonna say online, but ONET online.org, you have a search box where you can type in the position that you're looking for, and it'll show like key point or bullet points for that position as far as like descriptive duties and actually a descriptive of the job that you're looking for as well. Next
Yeah.
slide.
Back to that slide real quick. I think that's a very, very useful tool for anyone that is creating their resume. I know sometimes when it comes to creating a resume, you know what you did at the job. It's just sometimes hard to put it into words. So, if you were a cashier, all you have to do is type in cashier in that search bar, and it's going to list off things that a cashier does. And then you just you apply where it sees fit. If you did this as a cashier, you can make sure you add that to their resume, and it uses those buzzwords that are compatible with the ATS system. So that's very, very, very useful tool. Good job. I like that, Jarius.
Okay.
Okay, so job requirements. Is this job for me? I know, with the pandemic and everything, people are scrambling for jobs. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to get stuck or caught in a job that just really isn't for you. I remember when I was in school, I used to hear this saying, you want to make your job a vacation, not a vocation. You want to enjoy what you're doing. So here are some tips to just kind of, just help you answer a few questions whether or not this job is for you. So making sure that you're reading the entire job posting carefully. Make sure you're reading it from top to bottom. Paying attention to keywords and repeated phrases. 9 times out of 10, if it's repeated, it's because it's important. So that's something that you definitely want to pay attention to. And looking for clues in the company's values. This is also very important because you want to work for a job that you feel like aligns with your own personal morals and values. So, and I feel like this is another important step if you even get to the interview, because this is something that you can use when you're interviewing with the employer, just kind of letting them know that, oh, hey, standing out, letting them know that not only would I be a good fit, but I also paid attention to your company's, your values and your mission statement.
Job requirement. Is this job for me? You might not fit a job 100%, but you should have most of the skills they require, and you must account for those skills on your resume in an interview. As you review any section of a job description, keep in mind that the most important items are probably listed toward the top. If you fit first 4 experience requirements but miss on the bottom ones, you should still apply. And I think this is very important. I think a lot of times, sometimes we look at jobs and if something is missing, we usually don't apply. But I always tell people to apply if they fit like half of those duties. You never know what could happen, so it's always best to be optimistic. Next slide.
Yeah. And that's actually a very good point, and actually goes right into what I want to say about transferable skills, because there's technical skills and then there's transferable skills. So your transferable skills, these are the skills that you can take with you across different jobs, different careers. You see listed here are things like communication, critical thinking, self-management, and interpersonal. These transferable skills are not career specific. You can have communication skills as a case manager. You can have communication skills as a cashier, as a manager. You can even have communication skills as a stock person at a warehouse. You have to be able to talk to people. So, making sure that you're listing your transferable skills, highlighting your transferable skills in your resume, and also in your interviews.
Next,
Next slide.
targeting the job. Identify what tasks the employer wants you to do on the job. Have you performed that task in the past is listed on your resume. Sometimes the skills that the employer needs may have come from a previous job in another industry. Remember, a computer program may determine your fit for a job based on what experience you share. Also, be truthful, but never sell your skills short. A lot of skills are able to be transferable, and then some duties are able to be transferred from past positions. So, if you were a caseworker but you wanted to be a teacher, you may have worked with a child. You may have worked, or you did something type of software that could also be transferable. So, a lot of times, things can be transferred. So, it's not like a weed out right away. Next slide.
So, resume mechanics. So here are some tips when it comes to creating your resume. So the first one that's very, very important is it says the first third of your resume will tell the reader if your resume is worth reading further. So the first third of your resume is going to have your name, it's going to have your contact information. It may have a professional summary, which will get into. We might get into that later about whether or not that's needed on a resume. But when you think about it, when you read from top to bottom, left to right. So you want to make sure that you're engaging the employer as soon as your resume starts. Making sure that you're using concise language than usual. Don't start your job experience with I. What I like about the onetonline.org when it comes to um, giving you those job duties and responsibilities is it starts with those action verbs. So I investigated, but well, not I, but investigated so and so, so and so, so and so, acted as so and so, so and so, so and so, initiated so and so, so and so, so and so. These are those action verbs that you want to use. You don't want to start with I. You want to make sure that you're using those buzzwords to show employers that you're what you're capable of. Don't forget to include your transferable skills and accomplishment. When it comes to your resume, you want to make sure that think of it as you're selling yourself, but also think of it as you're serving yourself on a silver platter. You want to make sure you're putting all of your best skills, your transferable skills, your best accomplishments. You're putting your best self forward for the employer so they can hire you. So make sure you're putting yourself, on a silver platter. Making good use of keywords, integrating information that you gathered in your research. Yes, because you should be researching your employer, the company, before you even apply. Because as I mentioned, you can use the jargon that they're using. You can use it in your resume so that way you don't get weeded out of the applicant tracking system. And then recount the last 10 years of work experience approximately. We don't want to see work history from the 90s. You want to keep everything pretty recent, pretty relevant. Next slide.
Cover letters. The purpose of the cover letter is, to me, I feel like it's to tell a story about your past experience, but also tell the employer like why you want this job. It's also a good way of also putting salary requirements in there. A lot of times, jobs or corporations will use salary requirements in the cover letter. The cover letter is also to introduce yourself to an organization and demonstrate your interest in the company or a specific vacancy. Draw attention to your resume and motivate the reader to interview you. Often, this letter is the first contact you have with a prospective employer. Can help you tie your skills together for the employer to notice. Next slide. Oh,
So
go on, my bad. You go
it's
back.
okay. So, also about the cover letter, I'm gonna be honest, I don't like doing cover letters. So usually what I do is I usually just go on Google. So if you're ever having any questions or on formatting or anything, I just use Google to find a format for a cover letter. But what I found as I've done several letters at this point in my life is they have like a pretty general format. So the first you see on this example here is pretty much broken down into like 3 or 4 paragraphs. The first paragraph is basically your intro. You're introducing yourself and you're selling your skills. The second paragraph is explaining why you would be a good fit in that position at that prospective company. And then the third paragraph is usually like the conclusion and thanking the employer. So wrapping it all up, letting the employer know one last time why they should pick you for that position. So that's, like I said, that's like a general format I've seen while I've been researching on how to do cover letters. But if you're ever just questioning on how to do a cover letter, what do I put in a cover letter? I just use Google. Next slide. Oh, wait, no, this is my slide, the references. So your reference sheet is a separate document with contacts of people who can corroborate and validate your resume. So employers, coworkers. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you have their basic contact information, their name, their phone number, and their email address. And it's also, just courteous to kind of let them know that, hey, so and so, I want to use. Is it okay that I use you as a reference? Yes. So just making sure that your contacts know that you're using them as a reference, and making sure that you have their name and their basic contact information, so that way they can be reached by an employer when it comes time to do so.
Be mindful of your social media presence. This is very important. A lot of times I tell people to Google themselves just to see what will pop up or what will show up once they have Googled themselves. I know for me, usually LinkedIn pops up first. You want to make sure that your presence on social media from Facebook, Instagram, what else is out there? Snapchat,
Twitter,
LinkedIn,
yeah.
yeah, Twitter. You just want to make sure everything is appropriate, because a lot of times, depending on what the job is, what you say or what you're posting may represent the company, corporation, university, whatever the case may be. It's being professional, and so I know a lot of times people use LinkedIn. I know LinkedIn is a great social media platform for looking for jobs and putting a resume, actually building a resume, because you can do that on LinkedIn as well. You just want to make sure that you're being mindful of what you post on social media.
All right, so there are some frequently asked questions. So I did mention that one of those frequently asked questions is, should I include an objective? I heard conflicting opinions. Very good question, and that is true because I have heard the same thing. What I'm going to read you is that career experts, they differ on the need for an objective, a professional objective. But if you do use one, make sure it is directed exactly, or directly to the employer. More of a summary of qualifications than a generic career objective. And this is important because when you're doing resumes, they should be position specific or job specific anyway. So you may have a ton of skills, but a lot of your experience may be in case management, so you might have just a case management resume. So if you are going to do a professional objective, you want to make sure that that speaks to you being a case manager, versus maybe you were in telemarketing or in a call center. You may have just a call center resume. You just want to make sure that that professional summary speaks directly to you being I don't want to say telemarketer, but working in a call center. The second question here is, I've just created a LinkedIn profile. Do I still need a resume?
Yes.
The answer to that question is absolutely yes. You should always have a resume, no matter what profile, a LinkedIn profile, an Indeed profile. You always want to make sure that you have a resume. While it's true that your LinkedIn profile is similar to a resume and that you can even convert your profile to a resume, you still need a traditional resume, something for the employer to see. So yes, you should have a resume. Next slide.
Where can I find good examples of resumes? I would say Google, Indeed, Genius, LinkedIn are all great examples of resumes. Usually, when I first needed one, I typed in my industry, put it in Google, went to images, and they would just show you different templates of like different resumes and cover letters. I think LinkedIn is probably the second best, just based on it being like a job searching platform. And I think the second question is, I'm trying to fit my resume onto one page and not working. Any advice? It can be based on the bullet points or how it's edited, and then based on a template. So certain templates will push it into a second page, and that's fine depending on the industry. So if you were in industry in like engineering or maybe nursing, those are industries where you are probably going to have two pages, and that's fine. But for the most part, it's the bullet points and the template that usually keeps it down to one page.
And then it looks like we're getting into our final thoughts on resume writing. So, final thoughts: prepare. How do you prepare? You're making sure that your resume, first and foremost, you're doing your resume, you're editing your resume. You may have someone, look over your resume. If you're a Baltimore City resident, if you want to come to Mondawmin to the Career Center, you may ask, one of the CDFs to look over your resume before you send it off. Realizing and understanding what exactly it is that you want to do and where do you want to work. And then networking. So LinkedIn, Facebook, personal branding, making sure that you're working on your personal brand. What are you putting out to the world? Making sure that you're present on virtual job clubs or virtual job fairs and things like that. Making sure you're getting out there, and then apply. So adjusting keywords, applying and follow up, making sure that you're talking to these employers even after you apply and you send your resume off. Following up with them is very, very important. My rule of thumb is usually, if you haven't heard from them within a week, just shoot them an email or give them a call just to say, hey, it's so and so. I just wanted to check on the status of my application. So following up is very, very key, because you don't know how many people have also applied for that job and you want to stand out. So making sure that you're following up.
And need further assistance, we have an assistance request form in this link below. It says, let us help you with resume assistance, interview preparation, referrals to employers, technical job application assistance, training information and career guidance, and any other requests that may be possible. We're here to with any needs if needed, if possible.
Fantastic, guys. And again, thank you, Sierra and Jairus, for coming on and making this information so easily consumable for everybody who's watching. Having a workable and a functional resume is vital for every single person who is job searching. Again, if you're interested in finding out about how you can have someone assist you creating a resume, if you're interested in any of the opportunities that you see on the screen, make sure you go to bit.ly/MOED contact. You can go there and it's going to take you to a page where you'll select the area that you live. Once you put in your information will be sent directly to one of our career centers, and staff from our career center will then reach out to you. So we try to make it as easy as possible. Not only can you access us that way, but you can also come to any of our career centers. We are back open as of this past Monday. So please, if you're interested, please make sure you come by and see how you can get into your career. We're not in the business of finding folks jobs, but we strive to ensure that we find you a career that you can stay in, grow in, and that will sustain you and your family. So any questions? I don't see any questions in the comment section. Sierra and Jairus, again, you guys did a fantastic job. I love the fact about the piece that you guys said around not disqualifying yourself. Even if you don't meet the entire qualifications for a position, I always tell folks to apply. Never take yourself out of the running for a job. You let the employer do that. As long as you got your resume ready and it looks good and you're proud of it, send it to everybody that you can. Any job that you're interested in, send them that resume and let
Yeah.
them disqualify you. Once you get in the room, you show them exactly who you are, and that's the point of this resume, is making sure that you're able to get your foot into the door and actually get into the room.
Yes.
So again, thank you guys for coming on and talking about this extremely important topic. Again, thank you everybody for watching, and you enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. We will be back on Thursday at 1:00 for our next Employ Baltimore show. Until then, you guys have a great week.
Have a good day, everybody.
All right.